Here with Katie Hollern, professional
Yep,
golfer. How are you doing today?
doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing good. Yeah, so can you tell me about, how you got started playing golf and just, playing golf, growing up for you?
Yeah, so growing up, I my main focus in sport was lacrosse year round, pretty much, and then a little bit of skiing in the winter. So junior golf really wasn't a thing for me. I only played maybe on the weekends when I wasn't having lacrosse tournaments or just as like a family outing, um, just as kind of something to do. My dad always thought golf was a good sport to be able to play and know, and just kind of something he always wanted us to play. Um, So as junior golf goes, I only played in one tournament. My best friend's mom growing up um, used to be on the LPGA, and so she kind of coerced me into playing one event, and I absolutely hated it. It was like the most miserable experience. So I didn't play another golf tournament until I was like 20, 21. Um,
Yes,
and
you said your main focus was lacrosse growing up. So can you just tell me about, your lacrosse career growing up, also playing lacrosse in high school? Just can you tell me about that?
yeah, so I went to Valor Christian High School, and so we had kind of a smaller team because it was a newer high school, and so I played varsity all 4 years there, and then I would play club lacrosse in the summers. I played mostly for Fellowship Christian athletes and a little bit for Denver Summit and a couple other smaller club teams. With that, because a lot of the club teams I played on were kind of small, I didn't have as many D1 offers as I would have liked, and kind of towards the end of my high school lacrosse career, I didn't really know that I wanted to play for 4 years anymore, but I always wanted to play lacrosse in college. It was kind of a goal. So instead of choosing to go D1 at Oregon, I opted to play Division III at a small school in Virginia called Christopher Newport University. Um, I only played there for a year. I just didn't really love the environment and the coaching staff. And by that point, I kind of had an idea that I wanted to play golf after. I can't really put my finger on why, but that was just something that was kind of piquing my interest. And so with that, I transferred to the University of Denver and graduated college early, and then started playing golf.
So you grew up in Colorado, is that correct?
Yeah, I grew up just outside of Denver.
Yes. Yeah, my stepsister lives in Boulder, so yeah.
Oh,
And
nice. Yeah, I'm about 45 minutes south of Boulder.
if I'm complaining about the weather here in Connecticut, I know that it just snowed in Denver this weekend, so the weather's not the best there.
Yeah, but Denver gets a hard rep because we have a lot of sunshine.
Okay.
They get snow early, but there's a lot of sun mixed in there.
So the next question, correct me if I'm wrong, but you only played one season of college lacrosse at Christopher Newport.
Yeah, I did only play one season.
Okay. Yeah, so can you just tell
Obviously,
me?
I could have played all four,
Mhm.
but uh, at that point, I only the coaching. My coach wasn't exactly super keen. We didn't really get along, and so that was a part of the reason why I wanted to transfer. And um, I just had an idea that I wanted to play golf and didn't want to play lacrosse for all 4 years. And education wise, Christopher Newport was a great school, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. And so if I wasn't going to play all 4 years, then I figured I might as well transfer where I can get a really good degree, and kind of set myself up to maybe play golf after college.
Yeah, so you touched on it, but can you just tell me, what it was like for you to play college lacrosse, even though it was only one season? And then also what it was like to transfer to University of Denver.
I loved playing lacrosse in college. I thought it was a lot of fun. I had a really good team the year I went there. I had a lot of players that were really good athletes and just really good people. And so I think especially as like our freshman friend group, it was a ton of fun to go out of state and have that team environment and have friends and meet people from different places. And, you know, you learn a lot in a team sport, obviously, about work ethic and things like that and having other people's backs. And there's just a lot of assets to being on a team. That's really cool. And then in college, having that kind of discipline and set schedule was really nice because the transition from high school to college can be really difficult. So learning to manage travel and workouts and when you can eat if you have practice at 2 in class and from like 11 to 1 and doing all of those things. So having that and being able to play a sport that I've loved my whole life at the next level was a really good opportunity.
So you talked about how you got inspiration, seeing the 2013 Solheim Cup at your home course, Colorado Golf Club. So, how did you get inspiration
Mhm.
from seeing, the 2013 Solheim Cup in person at your home course?
Um, I think I got inspiration mostly because it was really cool to see women's athletics at a really high level and just seeing the best of the best kind of competing and doing their thing. And it feels like at a Solheim Cup, unlike some other tour events, that those events are really well respected and well supported. And so I loved the fact that you could be a professional athlete and really enjoy that. I feel like there's a lot of women's sports, I don't want to say that are looked down upon, but aren't, say, as viewed and encouraged as some of the men's sports. And I really think men's and women's golf kind of has an equal product line. And so just being able to watch Lexi, who I think was, let me think, maybe just 18, and Jessica Corda was really young, and Michelle Wee was there. So the team was really young, and it was a really good group of players. So it's just a blast to kind of watch female athletes at their peak. And I had always wanted to be a professional athlete when I was little. I just happened to choose a sport that really didn't have an avenue for that. And so for me, it turned into, well, this is something that if I so choose, could be something I could go professional at and like really use my athletic ability.
So I'm interested to know, how was the transition for you going from, playing lacrosse at a high level to playing, competitive golf now?
Um, it's like comparing apples to oranges sometimes if you look at high level team sports and high level golf, just because the tournament and game situations are so different to an extent. Tournament golf is so mental, and it was something that was kind of a big learning curve for me the first year or so that I was playing. You have to use certain things that motivate or frustrate you in a completely different way. But in terms of the athletic skill and athletic ability, I think learning to I play lacrosse right-handed as well as playing golf, and so the motion is not completely the same, but it's really similar in how you would kind of use your hips and swing and shoot. So transition athletically was really similar, which was really nice because it translated a lot of power into my golf game.
Good. Yeah, so you didn't play competitive golf really until after college, when most kids are playing, growing up, junior golf, they played college golf, you didn't play any of that stuff. So, what was it like for you to, go pursue golf, after not, playing junior golf, you didn't play high school golf, you didn't play college golf. And then also what was it like for you to, decide that you wanted to move to Jacksonville to pursue golf?
Um, so starting to play competitive golf at such a late age is kind of was a benefit in some ways and obviously a hindrance because the learning curve is so high. There's so many different aspects to golf and you kind of don't realize that outside of like just as an amateur, like a 13 handicapper golfer just playing, like yeah, there's chipping and putting, but to be so finite and to really move to the next level, you don't really realize how much there is. So that transition was kind of a big undertaking. Fortunately for me, I knew that was exactly what I wanted to do, so I was willing to put in all the work. It I moved to Jacksonville because my sister was living there because my brother-in-law was in the Navy. He just recently got out, and so he was deployed, and she was pregnant with their first child, and so I really didn't want her to do. I was graduating college early, and so I didn't want her to do her last trimester and a half alone. And it was a good opportunity because my first swing coach was Cheryl Anderson, and she was down at Mike Bender's Golf Academy, which is just like an hour and some change south. So it just fit for me to move to Jacksonville and then work with her a couple times a week. And then on top of that, start trying to play in the Egglands events. But transitioning into competitive golf is, especially at such a late age, was kind of a challenge because the learning curve is really high.
Nice. Can you talk to me about, tell me about the 88 rule and how that applied to you in your first, 4 events when you're playing on the mini tours?
Yeah, so for those of your listeners who don't know what the 88 rule is, in professional golf, even if you're playing as an amateur, if you shoot 88 or higher, you are automatically disqualified from the event. It's like an early cut essentially. And so my first 4 events, the first one was really a wild experience. I was playing at Dub's Dread Golf Course in Orlando, and I was paired with this girl who I didn't know at the time, but is autistic. And if you could imagine everything going wrong in a golf tournament, your first one ever, really, since you were like a kid, it went wrong. I had dropped balls, put on the clock, the whole thing. And so, learning the 88 rule and understanding like, okay, I got to get the ball in the hole a lot faster, was tough. But I will say having that kind of parameter and pressure forced me to get a lot better, a lot faster, because I'm so competitive that I didn't want to keep missing cuts because of an 88 rule, something that I could kind of figure out on my own, as opposed to like missing cuts because the field's really competitive. But I did 88 out of my first 4 events.
Yeah. So after after that, maybe not your first 4 events didn't go the way you had hoped. You gained some success. You qualified. You qualified for the 2019 U.S. Women's Amateur. So how much confidence did you gain from qualifying for the 2019 U.S. Women's Amateur, especially it being your first full year of playing, playing golf professionally?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I tried. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. So I tried to qualify for the USAM in 2018, and it did not go well at all. I think I shot like 85. So when I qualified in 2019, I was really, really excited because, first of all, the USAM is such a big deal, and it's something that so many girls, even if they miss a cut, love having on their quote unquote golf resume. And so to be able to do that after 1 year of playing, like you said, it really kind of gave me the confidence to know that I'm really good at this and that I can kind of achieve the things that I have in mind and the goals that I want to achieve. I don't know that it fully secured that I could play golf professionally, but it was something that I was really excited about and knew that if I can continue to pursue this, that I had a good chance of playing professionally.
Yes. Yeah. So you turned pro in 2020. What was it like for you to turn pro in 2020? Was there a moment where you thought, that you could pursue a professional career and that it was, the right time for you to turn pro?
Yeah, so my primary motivation for turning pro was so that I could play Monday qualifiers that year because it was, even though I didn't have full Epson status, I had partial Epson status. And so I could get into Monday qualifiers a lot easier, which I really enjoyed. And so with that, I was able to play in 1 Monday qualifier, and then they canceled the rest for the rest of the season unless you were a tour member because of COVID. So 2020 really wasn't a great year to turn pro with COVID and everything. It was kind of like a loss of my first year as a professional. But I don't know that I would do it any other way because there was really, at that point, there was no other reason to stay an amateur aside from maybe being able to qualify for the USAM again or the Augusta event. But being that a lot of the events that I was playing in didn't have world ranking, it was just kind of a sign for me to go ahead and turn pro and pursue this full time.
Can you tell me about your, journey being a professional golfer? You started out on the WAPT in 2020, and then this year, I believe you had your first, full season on the Epson Tour. So just tell me about, your professional career so far.
Yeah, so like you said, I started on the WAPT. I started there and kind of I played one or two events. I think we played the first event and then everything was shut down for COVID. So I started that again, I think it was late June. And I played a full season there. I really struggled going, let's call it the next level. Feeling really comfortable and making cuts, even though I knew a lot of the work that I had put in during COVID was moving in the right direction. I think getting over the mental hurdle of, okay, well, I could skip stage one if I play well here, or if I start making cuts, then I'm going to make money as a professional, and that's going to start like satisfying the fact that I needed to feel validated in what I was doing. But the WAPT is a great training ground for a lot of girls, and I think they put on really good events, and I would absolutely say that that made me better. Going into the 2021 season, I played okay at stage one. I made the first cut, but not the second. So again, I didn't get full Epson status. So I played the full season on WAPT in 2021, and I think I made 7 out of 8 cuts. I missed a cut in the first event, and then I started to have a really good season. I had a T3, a couple top 10s, and then a handful of top 20s as well, which was really great. And then after that, in 2021, I Monday qualified for the Marathon Classic, which is an LPGA Tour event, and then I made the cut at and advanced out of stage one for Q school in 2022. And then, like you said, I had full Epson this year, which was so.
So if you just, this is just me asking curiously, if you advance out of stage one, do you get, Epson Tour status?
Yeah, so they changed it a little bit this year. So it used to be if you showed up at stage one and you completed 3 rounds, you got what they called category N status, which really didn't get you into any events unless it was kind of a week where a lot of girls wanted an off week in a full field. So maybe you'd squeak into 1 or 2 events. But if you qualify out of stage one and you play in stage two and you play decent, then you get what is category K status. And so that's what I had this year. I missed, I think, the first 4 or 5 events, and I got in one right before the first reshuffle. So if you are in stage 2, you're pretty much guaranteed nearly a full Epson Tour card, so long as you keep making cuts and playing well and reshuffling up. Because with the money reshuffle, you can get better status or lose your status again.
Nice. You talked about it already, but can you tell me how much it meant to you to qualify for the 2021 Marathon Classic, especially since your family has ties to Ohio?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. So I went to Ohio. My mom is originally from Toledo, Ohio, which is where that event is. So both my parents were there. My mom usually doesn't travel to a lot of my events, but because she was from Toledo, she could see some of her family. And so she came. So I shot 5 under in the Monday, which was the leader in the clubhouse. And then to play my first tour event in Toledo, Ohio was super, super special because every summer I grew up going there for like 2 weeks to go see family and just hang out. So, and then to have both of my parents there was unbelievable.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, so as you said, you played in a lot of Monday qualifiers, and every year you play in Q school. So can you just describe, how difficult, Monday qualifiers, I believe only like 2 players get through, and then, Q school is very difficult, 3 rounds. So can you just tell me how, difficult Monday qualifiers?
Yeah, so those are
Q school is?
Yeah. So 2 drastically different events. A Monday qualifier, you play 18 holes and you're playing to play in the tour event for the week, like you said. Pre-COVID, it was 2 spots in a 72-person field. Post-COVID, so now it's 2 spots in a 48-person field. Whoever lowest 2 scores win. If there's a tie, there's a playoff. I personally think Monday qualifiers are a blast because you have nothing to lose. They are really challenging because a lot of girls go out and you have to go low and you have to play well. And so if you're halfway through a round and you don't have it that day, it's kind of discouraging. I mean, you can always maybe get it going on the back or whatever, but I kind of like the experience of putting that pressure on yourself to be able to go low and how to manage that a little bit, because you can't just focus on that. Where you have Q school, completely different. You're now playing for your whole season. And so, for example, this year I didn't make it through stage 1 and they changed the rules. So I have no Epson Tour status for next year. But Q school is it's kind of like survive in advance. You're playing for your card for the next season and you're playing essentially for your job. So you're not trying to go super low. You're trying par as your friend and just keep the ball in play and kind of, like I said, survive in advance and keep going to see how far you can get.
Yeah, no, Monday qualifiers, at least on the PGA Tour, you have to go super low to get it. So as you said, to get in. So as you said, you have nothing to lose, but you have to shoot very low just to get in the tour event these days. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on the guys' side, it's crazy. The average score, I think, of a tour event Monday qualifying getting through is 66.
Yeah. Yeah, so you just had your first full season on the Epson
Which is
Tour.
crazy.
Yeah, you just had your first full season on the Epson Tour this year. And I read about, you were talking about the learning curve you faced. So can you just talk about how your first full season on the Epson Tour went and, the learning curve that you faced this year?
Yeah, I mean, in all transparency, it was not exactly the best season I've ever had. It was really frustrating for me because playing wise, I think my game was right where it needed to be. The physical ability was perfect. The ball striking and the driving and everything was really good. I struggled sort of like my first season on WAPT to just go out and play golf. I put way too much pressure on maintaining my card for the next season, which I'm not going to say it's simple, but I should have never made it as difficult as it was. I put so much pressure on all of that I lost sight of just being able to go out and play golf. And so from that side of things, it was really a disappointing season, but you know, growth and getting better in this game is not always linear. And I think sometimes you need to have seasons like this to take a step back and kind of look and learn to see if you can correct some of the mistakes and see how you can get better on the next season. I think overall, because of that, I'll end up getting better on the flip side of things. But playing on the Epson was a lot of fun. And I think that, there's a lot of really good players out there. And I think if I learn how to not put so much pressure on myself, that my game and playing abilities could be right there with them and some of the players on the LPGA. I mean, I've kind of proved that in the past, but each level you step up, you need to learn that it's just the same as the last, and you're there for a reason. I earned my status. It wasn't because it was given to me.
So I think you already said you're going to be playing mostly on the WAPT next year, but yeah, can you just tell me what tour you'll mostly be playing next year, and what you think your schedule will look like next year?
Yeah, I'm actually hoping to play none on the WAPT next season. My goal is to go play on LAT. I'm going to LATQ school in December.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully I will be able to get status over there. I feel really good from kind of what I've been working on the last couple months and what I have kind of planned for November to prep for that.
So sorry to
really
bother you. So if you're gonna go on the LET and you're gonna try to, if you do qualify for the LET, do you think you'll live in Europe somewhere? Where do you think you'll live, or haven't thought about that yet?
I'm trying to figure that out. I haven't really thought about it a ton. I would probably I have a bunch of friends. There's a bunch of girls from Epson who didn't maintain their card
Mhm.
going over there next season, so maybe rent a flat somewhere in Europe that's kind of more of a central base. The hard thing about the first couple months of the European tour is because it's winter in Europe, most of the events are not in Europe. So last year, how the schedule went was Kenya, Morocco, Saudi Arabia for an Aramco Series event, South Africa, Florida, I think is how the schedule went, something like that. Um, and then back to Europe. So, you know, probably just maybe rent something. I haven't really thought about it. Like I said, if a couple of my friends get status from here, maybe we'll like short-term lease something. I'm not entirely sure, but being able to travel from Florida, sometimes the flights internationally back and forth aren't too bad, but the pay and the opportunity to play in Europe is like playing on the LPGA. So I don't know, it's not really something that's crossed my mind as really a challenge.
Nice. Well, good luck with that. I just had that question curiously. I was just curious about that
Yeah.
question. So my final question is, what are some goals that you have for your golf career? I know that you said, hopefully LAT next year. And yeah, like a 5-year plan. Where do you see yourself? Where do you hope to be, with your pro career, 5 years from now?
Some of my goals that you know, I am a very goal-oriented person, and I've always had really lofty goals when I started to do this. I didn't this is gonna sound terribly arrogant, and I don't really mean it to, but some of my goals when I first started to play golf, and my motivations were I've always wanted to be an Olympian, so play in the Olympics. I obviously the Solheim Cup is pretty special to me because that was really where I found a lot of love for golf and a passion for wanting to play professionally. So to be on the Solheim Cup team and um, I would love as an American to win a US Open and to have multiple majors throughout my golf career. I would love to be a top 10 player in the world. So as for the next 5 years, I hope that I can accomplish some of those goals, especially win a US Open and play in the Solheim Cup. Um, definitely. The Olympics would be a huge one for me. I would give almost anything to be an Olympian. So, but I don't know, just win as much as I can and have a blast.
Nice. Yeah,
See as far as I can take it.
a lot of players have been saying that winning a
Yeah.
US Open is their goal. So yeah. You're not the first one to say that. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, as an American, there's nothing really better than that, I don't think. Winning a British Open would be really special.
Mhm.
You can from the LAT, you can play in the British Open because it's a co-sanctioned event, and you can play into the Evian. So that would give me a look into at least playing in 2 majors. So it could be a really good way to do it too.